Hello, hello. What's going on? Thank you so much for being with me. My name is Will Johnson. The website is called uniteamericafirst.com. Uniteamericafirst.com. Please check it out, visit, support me as much as you can. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, share this video. Share it, share it, share it. Now, the last few days have been highly interesting. The last few days have been really something, especially on Facebook. And I kind of want to address a little bit of that tonight. So the church in the world today, a lot of it is changed. A lot of it is not what a lot of people thought it would be. It's not what people think it would be. And I just want to kind of address some things tonight. And I think I'm going to show or shed more light about the issues that I'm referring to when I talk about the church, the issues of today, and how the church has changed. The church. Now, I'm not saying every single church, because there's God-fearing churches, God-fearing believers, Bible-believing churches throughout the country, throughout the world. They're like a dime a dozen now, but there are some. I want to share with you tonight, before I get into what I think is biblical prophecy that's happening on our planet today, I want to share some other stuff with you, because I talk about everything. I talk about everything here. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is this whole disinformation. You remember they had this disinformation board that they created with Nina Janklowitz. They created this disinformation board with her, leading it up, and she tried to come out and try to act like she's not being biased, like, she's going to be bipartisan. She's not going to be biased. She's going to, just look at all of the information, look at all the facts. And they try to make it or play it off like they're not going to do this against the American people. That's exactly what they were going to do. And that's exactly what their angle was. But they got called out on it. She got upset because they let her go. They let her go because the American people got wind of it. Not only that Republicans and conservatives speak out against it, you have some on the left saying, you know what, yeah, the name itself, Disinformation Governance Board, kind of look Orwellian, right? It triggered everybody. Because just imagine if President Trump created a Disinformation Governance Board. The left would have lost their minds. The top of their head would have cracked open and poof, mushroom cloud, right? Because, oh my goodness, look what Trump is doing. He's a dictator. That's exactly what happened. So over the weekend, Nina, the ex-Disinformation Governance Board director, she went on the Communist News Network with Brian Stelter, literally lying. I mean, it's blatantly lying. She's so angry that, she's even attacking those on the left. She's kind of per se attacking the federal government because she didn't get what she wanted. Let's just get right into it, because I got so much I want to share with you. And just hold off. I want to talk about this briefly, this information board, before I get into what is biblically happening. Prophetic, if you ask me. Okay, listen to this. Listen to her when she's on here with Brian Stelter, blatantly lying.
Well, so there's a lot of things that to unpack in that. First, let's start with the idea that anybody would be someone that anybody on the political spectrum would want to be policing speech. Again, at the kernel of that criticism.
Oops, sorry about that.
Is the idea that this board would be policing speech, which it wasn't going to do. If that were the case, there would be no person.
She's automatically lying already, because that's what it was. They were going to police speech. What's the whole purpose of it then? What's the whole purpose?
And nonpartisan enough, particularly in the counter-disinformation sphere, who would appeal to everyone in that role. But I, did not post disinformation. The folks that are honing in on tweets that I sent in 2016.
Right. Listen, she's getting ready to lie. She's getting ready to lie here on Brian Stelter.
When I had fewer than 1,000 Twitter followers, that, I was just sharing information about a presidential election as it was happening, as millions of other Americans were doing, using their right to freedom of speech. That wasn't disinformation, right? It was just sharing news. Other people honed.
See, now when we just share news and they don't like it, you still have the fake fact checkers all over the place. They're saying even the fake fact checkers will come and say, if you put scripture on these social media platforms, the fake fact checkers will come behind you and say it's false information or it's misleading. If you take scripture from the Bible, and the fake fact checkers say it's misleading. People have been suspended for posting scripture. She's lying.
On tweets that they completely stripped of context. The one that the conservatives loved to really amplify was a tweet that they claimed that made me seem like I was calling the Hunter Biden laptop disinformation, when in fact I was just live tweeting.
You hear this, right? You hear this. She straight up said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian. Russia. It was Russian propaganda. Russia. She kept saying it. Russia. It was Russian propaganda. That was her angle. Everybody knows that exactly what her angle was, and she's literally lying here with Brian Stelter.
Debate, saying the exact words that then candidate Biden and President Trump were saying during a debate, totally stripped of context.
So you still think you were the right hire?
So now, of course, I like to archive things, and I like to be able to go back and refer to other things, because I said, you know what, a lot of this stuff comes back. It really does. Because she's on here lying. So I want to play this clip for you. This is with Tucker. This is during the time when she was the director of this Disinformation Governance Board. Listen what Tucker Carlson exposed about her during that time. And she tries to act like she didn't do it. Now, granted, I showed you. She just sat there and said that she didn't do anything about the Hunter Biden laptop. She didn't say it was disinformation or any of that. You remember? She just sat there and said it. Listen to what she said here, listen what Tucker had during that time when it all came up.
Nina Jankowicz, the disinformation hunter, once called the Hunter Biden laptop story, which is entirely true, a, quote, Trump campaign product. In October of 2020, she wrote, quote, voters deserve the context, not a fairy tale about a laptop repair shop. Now, did she give us the context or any countervailing facts? Did she deliver the truth about that story? No, of course not. She just read a bunch of lies somebody handed to her on a card because she's a useful idiot. And now she's a law enforcement official. Nina Jankowicz is repeating a lie that was, of course, widespread on the eve of the presidential election. And when she repeated it, it made it possible for Joe Biden to repeat it on the debate stage during a presidential debate. In case you've forgotten, here he is.
And Nina Jankowicz tried to act like she didn't say anything about the Russians. Said she was just retweeting what they were talking about. If it was up to her, the Hunter Biden laptop would never existed on Twitter. Remember? I wish I could have found the clip. Remember, she was sitting there saying that people that have the blue check mark on Twitter should be able to go behind you and tag stuff that they believe is correct because they're valid, they're verified. And then she said some people shouldn't be able to be verified. When they went out there and talked about the Hunter Biden laptop, they were all saying it was Russia, propaganda. Russia. They kept saying it was Russian propaganda. Come to find out it was true. Even Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms were deleting and removing people's account because they were exposing the Hunter Biden laptop. Listen to this. Y'all remember? Listen, blast from the past.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what. Is this where you go? This is
Russia.
Every time.
Russia.
I mean, seriously, every single day.
Russia.
It's
Russia.
It's always Russia. They always bring Russia into it. When they don't like something, Blame Russia. It's Russia. It's Russia. But guess what? They're kind of changing the tune just a little bit about the Russia thing. Just a little bit. Now they're saying because of the gas prices and because of the food crisis, guess who they're blaming now? The GOP. They're saying the GOP, Biden put a tweet out there saying the GOP is the reason why the gas prices are going up and the reason why we're having a food crisis. So they switched from
Russia
to the GOP. And the only reason why they're doing the GOP now because it is election season. So they want to fix everyone's mind because apparently they think that the American people are stupid. They really do. They think that the American people are stupid and automatically people can go like this. Oh, yeah, you know what? It is. The problem is the GOP. They're the ones that shut down the XL pipeline. Wrong. They're the ones that shut down the offshore drilling. Wrong. They're the ones that shut down the other pipelines that they don't talk about ever. Wrong. It was Joe Biden and the Democrats. They're the ones that did it. Let me give you another example here. Now, the Hunter Biden laptop, which is something that, when it first came out, I was like, I don't know any information on it. So I didn't even really elaborate on it. I didn't go into details on it. I didn't say much about it at all. Just to be honest with you, because I didn't know. What am I going to talk about? Right? And they were suppressing information, so I couldn't share it with you. But now it's all out in the open. And the biggest problem now is that you have government officials, government entities with 3 letters hiding information. They literally hid the information from the American people, and they worked hand in hand with the tech companies. So you had the federal government working with social media as a proxy to censor the American people. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? So then that way the government can say that they did not directly violate the First Amendment because they use tech companies to violate it for them. That's exactly what happened. But listen to this. This is so powerful because the Hunter Biden laptop, I mean, my goodness, dude. I mean, seriously, you talk about the corruption. The Hunter Biden laptop is the corruption that they kept blaming President Trump and his family for. All of these dealings that Hunter Biden is doing with all these other countries, that's the same thing that they were complaining about President Trump and his family. But what Joe Biden did, he came in and he did apparently an executive order to say, hey, you can't look into my family for any corruption. He literally did that. Here's the proof. Listen to this.
Hunter Biden and Jim Biden have received over 150 suspicious activity reports. That would probably put them at the top of the list of anyone in America. And that's no exaggeration. You can ask any banker that. Prior to Joe Biden becoming president, members of Congress could request from the Treasury Department a list of people that had suspicious activity reports. Joe Biden went in and changed the rule to where Congress can no longer request suspicious activity reports from the Treasury Department.
But again, we had to do our due diligence. So we checked with the FBI. They didn't tell us anything, even though we know the FBI had Hunter Biden's computer in December of 2019. What have they been doing with it? Okay, to me, there seems to be all kinds of potential criminal activity on that computer. Our FBI, our Justice Department hasn't really done squat. They won't answer our questions about potential conflict of interest with people like Nicholas McQuaid, who heads up the criminal division. They don't even let the U.S. Attorney in Delaware answer our oversight requests in terms of have people been recusing themselves. So there's an enormous cover-up going on here. The FBI, the Department of Justice have not been forthright. I don't think they're rigorously investigating this. And again, I'm concerned they will be involved in the cover-up as well. Even if they do indict, I fear they will seal the records. The American public will never get the full truth.
Hunter Biden.
The American people would never get the full truth. You hear this? I mean, really, y'all need to be actually concerned right now. The corruption all in our face. And it's like, well, there's nothing you can do about it because we're Democrats. We're corrupt to the core. And there's nothing you can do about it. You know why? Because we're Democrats. That's who we are. We're corrupt. That's just the way we play the game. But as soon as if a Republican gets anywhere close, all they have to do is think that a Republican is doing the same thing that they're doing, and then they'll do investigations after investigations and possibly impeachment after impeachment, just saying it, word of mouth. They actually impeached President Trump twice in the House for word of mouth. Hands down, for word of mouth. So today, I'm guessing this is today because I didn't see any other day, Joe Brandon was outside and he was talking to a group of people, and a protester came up. Gotta love the people. Gotta love the people. Gotta love the First Amendment. But they want to shut him down. So a protester today asked Joe Brandon about his son, Hunter Biden. Rightfully so. You should be able to ask these questions. But you have the liberal media, you have the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, whatever other one you can think of, literally try to shut it all down. Listen to Joe Brandon here as he is asked about his son, Hunter Biden.
On dealing with gun violence.
What do you think about Hunter?
Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say.
What do you think about Hunter, your son? There's a video of him arguing with a hooker about how much crack he has. What do you think about that, Mr. President?
Okay? Because make no mistake about it.
Let's put it back on this young man that was brave enough to ask the question. And you know, most of the time, when I go to these different events like this and they have these high profile politicians, this like Joe Brandon being one of them, as soon as you start asking questions like that, everybody will erupt. In this case, they're not erupting. Why is that? How come they're not going, being really loud? Because if you listen to the crowd, they're not doing that. I think there's a shift changing. There is a shift changing. Just last week, there was a report of 1 million registered Democrat voters in the United States of America have changed their registration from Democrat to Republican. 1 million. This was last week. That's just the 1 million that they've reported, the 1 million that they know about. There's a lot of people that are saying this is not right what is happening in our nation. Not right at all. But again, most of the time, every time I ask questions, I ask tough questions of these politicians when I go to places because, you know, they don't give me the mic. For some reason, it's like they know me or something. I don't know. But they never give me the mic. I go and ask the question, so I have to yell out loud, and people start yelling because they don't want other people to hear it. But in this case, they're not doing it. I just want y'all to pay attention one more time. This is extremely short clip. It's only 19 seconds. Listen to the crowd. Listen to the crowd because people want to know because all of this information is coming out and they know they've been swindled. Listen.
On dealing with gun violence.
What do you think about Hunter?
Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say.
What do you think about Hunter, your son? There's a video of him arguing with a hooker about how much crack he has. What do you think about that, Mr. President?
Look at the crowd. None of them are waving their hands. None of them are putting stuff in front of them. No one is doing any of that. I mean, dude, come on. Come on now. Come on. They keep counting on the American people to be stupid, regardless if you're right or left. Seriously, people on the left, they're starting to get the picture here. They're starting to see what we see. I used to be a Democrat, but God has healed my mind. People are starting to see the truth here. And again, the whole thing with the Hunter Biden laptop, the reason why this young man didn't know anything before is because of the Disinformation Governance Board, where they try to act like they didn't want to, hinder free speech in the American people, but that's exactly what they want to do. Listen to what Tucker was talking about this back in February. Listen to this. Listen to this.
They want power. And to get power, they plan to control what you think. Watch Mayorkas explain.
We have so many different efforts underway to equip local communities, to identify individuals who very well could be descending.
Now, he's talking, when he says local communities, he's talking about local tech companies. That's exactly who he's referring to. But listen to the angle here. I'm going to take it back just a little bit so you can hear it. Listen to the angle here. He's talking about communities.
We have,
which are tech companies.
So many different efforts underway to equip local communities, to identify individuals who very well could be descending into violence by reason of ideologies of hate, false narratives, or other disinformation and misinformation propagated on social media and other platforms.
Okay, so let me ask a legitimate question here. When you see all of the violence that's happening across America, let's just go with the year or the summer of love 2020. Let's just go with that. When you saw all of the violence, people were getting locked in buildings and they were chaining them up and they were setting the buildings on fire. Who was doing that? When there was multiple vehicles throughout the cities and streets set ablaze, who was doing that? When people are just walking down the street because they happen to be white and then they get up getting attacked by another group of people, who were the group of people? Can we be honest about it? Seriously, can we be honest? Because it wasn't Trump supporters. It wasn't conservatives. It wasn't Christians. None of them were going out and deliberately attacking people, burning up cities. None of that. It was Antifa and BLM. And they don't want to look at Antifa and BLM and call them domestic terrorists. If you go to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Antifa and BLM is not listed. But they list other groups that want to have their freedom in the United States of America. You have to ask yourself, why would they label those groups, but they don't want to label those groups the ones that's actually going out burning up everything? And then they turn around and say, well, you know, it's all mostly peaceful. It's all mostly peaceful. That's what they say. When it's not. These people are violent. Antifa, BLM, these leftists, these communist, socialist democrats, they're all violent, and they believe if they don't get what they want, they have to be violent. Look what happened. Look what started to happen after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. They went out and they started to be violent, but then they started getting the memo saying, "Hey, stop doing it. Don't be violent. Don't be violent." They started getting the memo. You know why? Because then all we have to do is sit back and watch them act up. But at some point they're going to, when they start selling in, when they start realizing that, hey, wait a minute, these states are adhering to the U.S. Constitution and this is not what we want, they're going to really start acting up. When they start getting reports of women not being able to use this as a form of birth control. I'm telling you now. But let me get to the point of tonight's main broadcast. I had to talk about the disinformation. I had to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop because it's damaging to the country. It's a national security issue. It really is. But on a biblical scale, the past couple of days, I've been talking about how the church, a lot of churches, when Roe versus Wade was turned over, there's a lot of churches that refuse to even acknowledge that Roe versus Wade was turned over. And the only thing that simply happened was they said, hey, it's not at the federal level. It's going back to the states for the states to decide. No women have lost their rights. So it went back to the states. And this is still a positive thing because now we, the people, get to say no to killing the unborn child, right? We get to say that, right? They don't want that. The left, they don't want that. They hate the idea that you're not going to be able to take the life of a child. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of churches that refuse to even acknowledge it. But there are some churches that did acknowledge it. There's some churches that were like, oh my goodness, Roe versus Wade was turned over. But not in the sense what you think I'm getting ready to lead to, because some of them did say yes, 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 but there was a lot of churches, a few, that was angry. Yes, you heard me right. There's some churches that were angry that Roe versus Wade was turned over. I'm going to prove it to you right now. Listen to this. And everything, again, with these demonic people, because Satan has his preachers too, everything with these demonic people, they make it about a racial issue. They do it all the time. Listen to this. And if you haven't already, hit the share button, especially right now.
Where were you white evangelicals who were pro-lifers? If you're pro-life, why do you just stop when I'm in the womb? Why don't you stand up and stand for pro-life once I exit the womb?
Well, guess what? There's a lot of white people that stand up for people when you exit the womb. Every white person that's a conservative, let me put it this way, every white conservative that I've come across, they want everybody to be successful. They're not going to give you handouts, though. You have to work for it. That's how it works. You just don't get handouts. But see, they take this and make it a racial issue as if white people, listen to this, because it gets even crazier. Listen.
Because if you're really pro-life, you'll get rid of food apartheid. If you're really pro-life, you'll get rid of environmental injustice. If you're really pro-life, you'll ensure there's educational equity and equality. If you're really pro-life, you'll ensure there is no longer economic exploitation on one side of town. If you're really pro-life, y'all ain't pro-life, y'all are pro-fetus, and you're pro-fetus as long as the fetus is white.
Come on now. Y'all just heard him. He's just sit there and said that y'all not pro-life unless the fetus is white. Every single pro-life march that I went to, hundreds of thousands of white people saying that they want black babies to live. Can we get 15%? Can we get 15%? I'm talking about 15% of the black population. Demonic people like this do not want black people to reach 15%. Because see, they're all taking some kind of payout from Satan. Literally. Let me play that little last tidbit again. Listen to him.
You're pro-fetus, and you're pro-fetus as long as the fetus is white.
Y'all hear this? I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, are you serious right now? Are you serious? There's more white people marching that black people make it through the womb than black people are. Make that make sense. Now, I'm going to repeat that one more time. There's more white people in this nation that will go out and march for black babies to live than black babies do, than black people do. Make it make sense.
Uh-oh.
And listen, and they're all out there cheering. Yeah. You only want them to live if they're white. This is what you call Satan in the church, 100%. And you know what? There's some people don't like the fact of me exposing this. There's some people don't like the fact of me talking about these demonic people in the pulpit. They don't like me doing it. Why not? Because they want to do the same thing. They want to be able to live in this world and have the sinful things go on and no one convict them about it. They don't want to be convicted by the Holy Spirit. Listen to this. This is demonic. You know what? We are living in the last days, people. This is so prophetic. Listen to what's going on. Listen.
Uh-oh. Look it up. Look it up. Yesterday, a rally took place.
Now, listen, he's about to lie. Because the rally he's referring to, President Trump was there, and the lady, she was saying the right to life, right? But she said right life. But she's saying what she meant to say was the right to life. But listen how he twisted. These demonic demons know what they're doing. Listen.
And they introduced 46 minus 1. And when they introduced 46 minus 1, this white woman said it. You can look it up. She said, "Thank you so much, President Trump, for how you have fought to save white lives," because she recognized that whole anti-abortion piece has nothing to do with pro-life. It has everything to do with denying reproductive justice, bodily autonomy. It has nothing to do with pro-life, and everything to do with a certain group of people being in control, because as long as they can control your body, they can control what goes on in this nation. So don't tell me that you're pro-life. No, you are pro-fetus. Don't tell me you're pro-life.
Let me stop it. You hear this? He's literally saying by allowing black women to have their children is racist. That you're only going for a certain group of people. Make it make sense. You can't make this stuff up. That's literally what he's saying. Is anyone grasping this? I'm like, listen, I'm like, really? 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 So you have white people that say, hey, we need to stop killing black babies. And they're not just talking about black babies. They're talking about the most innocent of us all, regardless, the most innocent of us all. They're saying, hey, stop killing them. There's black people like me saying, stop killing them. There's Asian people, Hispanic people, but they target white people because more white people will go out into the streets of America and say, please stop killing black babies. But they don't want this. He's literally sitting there saying that it's racist if you want a black baby to survive. And then they try to spin it talking about poverty. Give the child a fighting chance.
You were pro-birth. Don't tell me you were pro-life. And let me talk to my bass-ackward black folk who find themselves now jumping on board and saying, yes, this is a good thing because finally the nation is rising up to protecting the unborn. But the nation ain't doing a damn thing about protecting black-born people in this country. Uh-oh.
I mean, seriously, y'all hear it? Are y'all hearing this? I'm like, does not compute. Wow. I mean, he sit there and say that black people are happy that this is happening, right? But then he talking about this is not good for black babies. You cannot make this stuff up. This stuff that's happening is biblical. I got so much of this. I probably won't even be able to get to all of it. But let me just jump over to this next one, because it's not just black people that's rejecting God. You got white people rejecting God too. And it's such a demonic thing. Such a demonic thing is happening. They're wanting people to deny that God even exists. They're wanting people to listen to this. Now they're trying to change the gender of God.
I sense that folks younger than us have increasing awareness around how gender has impacted our understanding of God and our language around God, and even our roles in society. And I think there's going to be an evolving conversation about gender and how that plays into our understanding of God.
See, I told people a couple years ago, when I first started doing videos and when I started speaking out, because I started seeing more and more and God was showing me, I give God all the credit. I said, they're going to come and start attacking Christianity. I just played a video this Friday where they were showing how the police officers arrested a pastor for simply reading the Bible on a park bench, because the sodomites were there and they didn't want to hear it. And now you have these people wanting to try to get you to believe that God is is offered a gender nonsense. Like they're going to say God is not just one gender. He's not man. God is multiple genders, like 52 genders. That's their angle. And that's what they're pushing for. This stuff, what is happening is demonic. And again, there's people that don't want me to talk about it. There's people that don't want me to talk about what's happening in the church. And it's so important that y'all understand. Please hit the share button for me. Hit the share button. I'm not showing anything that's inappropriate, but all I'm doing is showing and exposing who these demonic people are. Listen to this one. He's going to sit there and talk about if you're pro-life, that you won't be for.
It is hard for me to identify you as pro-life if all you care about is the womb, but you don't care about the streets. It's hard for me to identify you as pro-life if you care more about what's going on in the womb than you do what happens after the baby is born.
So at what point did they think that people didn't care about what happened to children after the womb? Of course we do, because we don't want you sexualizing children. They're not in the womb. We don't want you perverting children. They're not in the womb. We don't want the children going to the schools and you giving them the idea of telling them that there are 15 different genders. They're not in the womb. These people are demonic. These people have been turned over to reprobate mind. If you don't believe that we're in the last days, then you're not seeing it. You're ignoring it. This dude is a preacher, and he's preaching to people, and people are listening to this nonsense as if he's talking facts.
If you are truly pro-life, I should have seen you protesting down at Congress to change gun laws so that we can protect our children from these school shootings. If you are pro-life, you should have been outspoken about the opioid epidemic that is killing thousands of our people.
So who's not talking about it? You know who's not talking about it? The left. The left, they don't want to talk about the fentanyl that's coming into the country. They don't talk about the opioids that's been killing people. They don't talk about that. It's like they almost even want to push it. It's like they want to push that nonsense onto the society. Because certain things you can't even talk about unless the left say you can talk about it, because they end up canceling you. You have demonic people like this in the church. In the church.
If you're pro-life, you should be marching right here in D.C. for universal health care, because it's a shame for someone to die because they can't afford some medication.
Listen to this.
Pro-life, you should have been active about food deserts and the rise of obesity and diabetes within our children. If you're pro-life, you should have protested when your president locked up brown and black children in cages and separated them from their mothers and their fathers. If you are pro-life.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand something here. Is he talking about Obama? Because Obama created these cages and was locking these kids up. That's when it first came about. So, I mean, but Obama's not pro-life. He's pro-death. The Democrat Party is 100% pro-death. If you vote Democrat, you are voting for death. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. You can't even, he must be talking about Obama.
I should have seen you at a Black Lives Matter rally after Breonna and after Ahmaud and after Jordan and after Tatiana. Where were you then? If you're pro-life, you should demand that your state get rid of capital punishment and the execution of criminals. Why? Because you pro-life. Here you are with your pro-life self, got a whole lot to say about this, but ain't got nothing to say about that.
Well, I got a lot to say about that. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, all of them were thug criminals. All of them were thug criminals. And you going out there marching with Because Lucifer Manipulates, aka BLM, only shows that you're demonic. They didn't go out there because of police brutality, what they're calling it. They went out there to glorify criminals. That's all that they did. See, I'm willing to bet if I put an invitation out to this dude, he would never come on and talk to me. He never would, because I wouldn't let him get away with it. It's completely demonic. So let me just go here, because I know I'm gonna run out of time here. Let me just pull up this other one for you, because I had some more of him, but I can't stand looking at him anymore. But here's one that's gonna even probably tick you off even more. If you have a high blood pressure, you might not want to watch this next clip. Have y'all seen him before? This is pretty despicable. This is despicable. And again, this is the church. And again, there's some people saying I shouldn't be talking about the church like this. I should be trying to uplift the church. When the church is doing this, should we be uplifting the church? Show me somewhere where you have these demonic people saying what they're saying, and you telling me that I need to uplift this? I don't think so. I'm not going to. Not going to. And also, there's a lot of churches that won't say anything about Roe versus Wade. And you know why? And I'm pretty sure people probably put in the comments because of 501c3. 501c3, where the church is a 501c3, they don't have to pay taxes into the federal government. They get to keep all that money. But if they violate the 501c3 based on the liberal world order agenda, they can revoke their 501c3 status. They don't want that to happen. At the same time, they don't want people to get up and walk out because they don't want to go along with this liberal world order. And so they don't talk about, per se, politics in the church. But let me tell y'all something. The Bible's full of politics. At the end of the day, if you take the time and go read it, the Bible's full of politics. Just because it didn't say politicians or senator, or because it didn't say House member or Congress, doesn't mean it wasn't full of politics. It had kings and queens. It had rulers, leaders who made legislation to determine how the people should be governed during that time. So it's full of politics. I'm tired of people saying it. Don't mix politics and religion. Seriously? You're not paying attention. Go read it. Take 5 minutes and go read it. Listen to what he says. Because a lot of churches, they won't say anything about Roe versus Wade because they feel that it's going to violate the 501c3 status, and they don't want to get in trouble with their God, the big government. But you can talk about Roe versus Wade. You can talk about politics in the church as long as you do it like this demonic demon here.
We need everybody to get a ballot, fill out a ballot, cast a ballot. We must have the most moral, massive, progressive vote out, turnout ever in the history of the United States.
You hear this? So he's literally telling people to get out and vote for this demonic entity for taking the life of an innocent child. He's literally doing this in the church, telling people, get out and vote. No, don't vote for people who want to save lives. Get out and vote for these people that want to take lives. He's literally saying this in the church. Do you think the liberal organizations, any of them, the ACLU, the NAACP, do you think any of them are going to go to that church and say, hey, we got to do a lawsuit against you because you're telling people how to vote? Do you think it's going to happen here? Absolutely not. You get a truly Bible-believing church that's willing to stand firm on God's word, go out there and tell people, do not fall for this trap. Then there's targeting. When Obama was in office, there was a total communist socialist mayor in Houston, here in the state of Texas. And this mayor subpoenaed I think it was like 5 different churches in Houston, subpoenaed them for their sermons because she wanted to know, it was a female mayor at the time, she wanted to know if they were talking about sodomy and if they were talking about what it said in the Bible about sodomy. Because then she was going to try to revoke their 501c3 status if they read verbatim what it says about it in the Bible. But here in this case, you can do that. Listen.
Politician that benefits from this massive turnout, don't play with us this time. If we put you in, you better make abortion rights a national law.
You hear this? If we put you in, you need to make abortion rights a national law. They're doing this in a church, people. Look at this. Look, they're doing this in the church. And people seriously think that this is okay. This is prophetic. We're living in the last days. This is actually happening right now. This is happening. We're supposed to speak up against this demonic stuff. We're supposed to do this. And look, and all these liberals in there listening to this demonic dude. Straight up demonic. And again, he's in there telling people how they should vote and what they should do. He's being straight up political. And if it was the other way around, they would be trying to shut it down. Am I wrong? You know I'm not wrong. I have another one I want to share with you here. I have a whole bunch, but I'm not going to show all of them. I'm not going to but y'all need to see this. Listen to this.
A country.
And he's talking about the United States of America, and this was the 4th of July, right? Because 4th of July, the birth of America, right? That's right, the birthday. You know, we want to celebrate. Pop off fireworks. Yes, we're in America, the greatest nation on the planet, right? Listen to this.
A country that will celebrate with fireworks.
There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Japan does it, right? China does it.
China.
Right? Other nations do it. Can we not do it?
Freedom from British oppression has become a country trying to create handmaids. Has become a country that is becoming a Gilead of sorts. And while y'all eating hamburgers and hot dogs, there's a 10-year-old girl raped by her father, now pregnant, who goes to a clinic so that as 10 years old, her body will not be pulverized from trying to vaginally give birth to a baby while her body is still yet forming. And those at the center will look at her and say, legally and lawfully, you must have this child.
You know what? A child at the age of 10 and they go to the clinic, they need to report it to the cops. If the child is at 10, you need to report it to the police because the child is below the age of consent. There's no child on the planet at the age of 10 saying yes. And he's saying it's rape here. But see, they want to just automatically take the child no matter what. And they're talking about a really small number. Right? What about the ones that were not raped? Right? What about those where the pedophiles convinced the child to do it, which is still, for the most part, rape. But he's not talking about that. He's only talking about something that's really horrific, which we all agree to, that is absolutely horrific. But let's talk about the ones where the pedophiles are coercing these children at these Dragon Queen parlor dances that they're doing. At the Dragon Queen library storytelling time. What about them? See, they don't have any issues with that. They don't have any issue with these pedophiles getting these children possibly pregnant at that point either. Because they don't ever mention that. They only mention something that we all agree with already. If a man rape a little girl, he should go to jail. And no one is saying that she should not receive help. But they're talking about a small number. They completely forget about the other 99%. They completely forget about that. That's not important because they want death through and through.
And for you, religious, hard-hearted vipers, who would say back to me, that only represents 1%.
You hear this? He's calling me a viper because I said it's 1%. Listen.
Of all abortions. Was it not our Savior who said, leave the 99 and go after the one?
Y'all understand? I mean, come on, you can't make this stuff up. He's literally saying leave the 99 and go after the 1%, right? So he's saying leave the 99, let the 99% kill the unborn child, and even go after the 1% so they can kill the unborn child. I mean, what? Listen to this.
The 99 and go after the one. If legislation could protect just one, it's worthy of not being reversed. But again, you don't think. Because when you hear 1%, that seems small.
Okay. Let's just go along with this. Can we say yes to the 1%? And can we say no to the other 99%? Can we do that? Can we agree to that? See, what he is saying is backwards. He's trying to flip it, and it's not working. I mean, maybe it's working for him or any of the idiots that listen to him. Maybe it's working for them, but it's not working here. It's really not. It's really not. Let me get him off the screen here. I had some more, but I'm not going to get to them. It becomes a little redundant too, and it's just, I completely understand how disgusting it is. It's repulsive because this is the days we're living in. This is it. Biblical things are happening. And a lot of people can say, well, biblical things have been happening all the time. None of this is new. It's all been happening like this. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. You can continue to tell yourself that all you want. I mean, that's fine. That's in your world, your bubble. Do it. But I'm going to live in reality. Of course, we have people doing crazy stuff in the past, no doubt. But the planet has never been in this situation. The planet's never had this many people on it. 8 billion people. For you to sit there and say that all this has been happening and all this happened in the past, that means you're saying that in the past we've had 8 billion people on the planet, which is not the case. We didn't have the technology the way we have it today. Technology hasn't always been like this. We're living in biblical times. Literally. All right, let me say thank you to a few people. And thank you so much for the PayPal. Thank you so much. Adrian, thank you so much. There was Cash App. Thank you so much. Kimmy, thank you so much. And then Yehonda. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you so much for the stars. Kathy, thank you so much for the stars as well. Jennifer, thank you so much. And Sherry, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Tina, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you as well. Michelle, thank you for the stars. Danny, thank you for the stars. Karen, thank you so much for the stars. How do you say that? Priscilla, thank you so much for the stars. Frida, thank you as well for the stars. Lauren, thank you so much for the stars. Kat, thank you so much. Brenda, thank you as well. Oh, Brandy, sorry. Brandy, thank you so much. Justice, thank you so much. Heather, I really appreciate it. Kathy, thank you. Thank you so much. Naomi, thank you so much for the stars. Lisa, thank you as well. Susie, I really appreciate it. And the last one, Kelly, thank you so much, everybody. Awesome. Thank you so much for all the blessings. Thank you so much for all the prayers. Please, get in the Word. Get in the Word. I need to do it more myself. We all need to do it. Get in the Word. God bless. Good night.